Stage 3 of the Rave New Year isn't about moving forward quite yet. We're still getting clear. This stage begins as the sun enters gate 61, shifting the focus away from ambition and toward inner truth, grounded in details. Hi, if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Naraya Fox, and this video is part of a short series walking you through the Rave New Year stage by stage. If you missed the earlier videos, they're linked below so you can gain a fuller picture as you process and close out your experiences of 2025. We are now deep in the process of closing out the year. Now, let's step into what stage 3 is really asking of us by grounding ourselves in where we've already been. In stage 2, we navigated the energy of gate 54, the marrying maiden. We moved away from the raw struggle of purpose and turned our attention outward towards relationships, alliances, allies. We asked ourselves the critical question regarding our ambition. So we asked, who are my best allies? Who are the beings that you can really rely on during the last year? Who are the people that I can work with, that I can trust, that I can rely on? Who supported your transformation? Who seemed to block your transformation at every single turn? And who, despite them being in your proximity and opportunity to assist, only created friction or delay? Now that part of the cycle, stage 2, that assessment's now complete. With stage 3, the energy turns inward. We move out of the root pressure field and into the mental realm. The sun has entered gate 61, the gate of inner truth. Gate 61 brings this intense mental activity. Ra described it as this week as a week of thinking and thinking and thinking. The pressure here, it's not emotional or relational, it's mental. It's this mental pressure to understand. The challenge of this gate is that the mind does not like uncertainty. It just doesn't. And it'll try to fill in the gap by spinning stories, fantasies, whatever it is, to fit our narrative, to fit the answers that we want, and to fit the explanations that we think will be best suited. It wants to resolve pressure by imagining what comes next, what could be, what was. But this really isn't a time for imagination. Right now, as we're closing out the previous year, the stage 3 of the Rave New Year, it's more about grounding ourselves through the details to find out what was true for us over the last year, to get that clarity. Because the polarity of this transit, the Earth, it's in gate 62, the gate of detail. It grounds us firmly in reality. 62 speaks plainly. It's facts. It's this simple and it's uncompromising. The facts, just the facts. Please, just give me the facts. Just the facts, please. That's the way to find inner truth. This stage isn't about dreaming into the new year. Well, let me say here, that's the way to find inner truth. That's what our mind thinks. We need the facts to be able to get to that inner truth, but it encompasses so much more than that when it really comes down to it. So this stage, it's about examining the data of the year that's ending, those details. And just as we discussed in the previous stage about Venus and Mars, once again, Venus and Mars are joining the sun in gate 61. Now Venus is already there, and Mars will be arriving shortly. This creates a similar configuration to what we observed when the sun moved into gate 54. Only now, the emphasis, it's also shifted with the gates. Instead of ambition, and drive, the focus is now on inner truth. When the sun, Mars, and Venus are all moving into gate 61, moving through it line by line, there's a strong concentration of pressure in the realm of inner truth. Because 61, it's not about answers in this practical, logical sense. It's about the pressure to know, to understand, and to resolve these inner questions. Now, if you know human design pretty well, on the other side of it, we have gate 24, which is the fear of ignorance. So gate 61 puts this pressure on us to know, to alleviate that ignorance. It's a deeply individual pressure, and it really can't be satisfied by external validation or agreement, even though it is grounded in details and grounded in those facts. It still isn't something that you can come to in a logical way, because this is not a logical gate. So the sun in 61 brings this illumination, almost like think of it as a dark room, opening up the shutters and this visibility to this inner pressure. It illuminates what's been working beneath the surface. So Mars adds this intensity, momentum, possibly even a mutation happening there, amplifying the urge to confront unanswered questions or challenge assumptions that we don't even hold valid anymore. Like reviewing. It really is. The stage is really about reviewing what's true for us. It doesn't mean what's true for other people. What's true for us. And maybe even with Mars being there, this is a maturing energy. So what beliefs did we held earlier that we see differently now? What truth was there before? And beliefs is probably the wrong word for that. What truths did we see earlier that no longer hold true? Now, Venus is also here. And remember, Venus introduces this theme of values and morals and our standards. These coupled together, it's about asking whether what you pursue, what you've pursued over the last year, what you've participated in, what you've prioritized, is that actually even aligned with what actually matters to you? Is it truly something that matters to you? Or were you doing things from a place of feeling like you had to for somebody else? The dreaded shoulds. So together, these influences, they don't point towards action yet. We're getting there, but not quite yet. Instead, they point to clarification and as we review the past year. So as we move through stage 3 of the Rave New Year, it's going to last about a little over 5 days, just like each of the other stages, as we move through 61 line 1, 61 line 2, 61 line 3, 61 line 4, 61 line 5, 61 line 6. As we move through all of those, that's how long the stage lasts. That focus, it's so different than it was yesterday or the last 5 days, where it was focused on who was our allies and who helped us with our ambition. But now we're going to be looking at and examining what truly motivates us, what motivated us over the last year, what inspired us, and what truth is held in that. And also, what doesn't have the charge anymore there? This isn't about refining like our ideals of things or thinking and planning for the future. This is really about recognizing what is real, what was real for the last year, with truth and honesty for ourselves. And like all the other things, this doesn't have to be anything that you present to somebody else. These are all inner reflections for your own inner standing. This isn't something that you need to go shouting from the rooftops. In fact, and you don't even have to do anything with it. It's just part of the process for closing out the year. So when we get to stage 4, you'll understand what no longer suits you and have an easier time letting go. So as we move through this stage, there's this concentration of these planets on gate 61. This year in it's January 2026 right now. And having the Sun, Mars, and Venus all in gate 61, this is unique to this Rave New Year closing out of this cycle. This isn't something that always happens every single year. So we have a really interesting experience that we're going to have by having this triad together. So Yeah, it's about recognizing what's real. And that's the best way that I can think of to explain it. This inward pressure, it's stabilized by the earth in gate 62. This is our gate of details, and it provides grounding by insisting on clarity, precision, articulation. But only when we've come to the inner truth, only when the timing is correct. So gate 61 asks why, what does it mean? Like the big why in the sky. And gate 62 asks, but what actually is true? Like I said earlier, give me the facts, please. That's all I want. Now, this grounding, it's really essential at this stage during the cycle, because without it, the insight that we have, it remains kind of unresolved. The earth in gate 62, it supports the process of organizing the inner truth into clear language, this concrete understanding and usable facts. It's not really about expressing inspiration outwardly quite yet. It's about ensuring that what's been discovered internally can actually be clearly named and accurately understood, for if we choose to do something with it after we come completion through this closing out of last year. Inspiration, it can't really be integrated unless it can be explained or articulated. Without the clarity, there's this inability to be able to integrate it into something. And gate 61 is part of an individual channel. So there's this pulse of knowing. It's not something like if you don't know all the time, then you have a problem. It's really not. It's part of the wonderful things about creativity and inspiration is that it can come in these pulses and these flashes. Really light you up. So this stage 3 alignment here, it supports the final assessment of the year, which you're going to be taking in what is sensed, what is questioned, the contemplations that you've had, and we're going to be bringing it all into focus, not to do something with, not to act on it, but to be able to clearly know clearly enough what to let go of and what doesn't actually belong in the next cycle. And now necessarily, this doesn't have to be anything that is terrible, like, oh, that was so horrible. No. This can be something that you went through, you did last year, and it served you then well. But it's just not something that you have any energy with anymore. There's no spark there anymore. And it doesn't need to be brought into 2026. It just doesn't belong in the next solar cycle for you. To close out a cycle correctly, there's also something about emotion. It just has to be set aside at this point. Purpose has already been examined, right? Did you find your spirit? That purpose. Allies have already been identified. You already figured out who it was that helped you out on your way. So now this is a moment where we use our mind to be discerning. I almost wanted to say used for its proper functioning, which is weighing the black and the white, not for making decisions, but for organizing what is our reality, the reality of our situation. It's nothing that we're here to act on. This is the stage of honest accounting. Taking into consideration, reviewing the facts in order to be able to then, with stage 4, let go. What actually happened? What worked? What really didn't work? Where did you have your energy consistently show up? Where was it inconsistent? And where did you find yourself forcing yourself to take movement towards it? Did that even happen to you? I know if you're deep in your human design experiment, that may be something that you really don't experience all too often. But was it there? If you're new to your experiment, you might really find yourself during this review process thinking about, oh, wow, I really had to force myself to do that. My mind really convinced me that that was something that I needed to spend my energy on. And I see now that it really wasn't. The pressure It was all this internal pressure that was made up from, and I just assumed that I had to do it to relieve the pressure. And you know what? It really didn't even help. And also, what fell away through the year? What were you working on and it just fell away? And maybe you didn't even notice after a bit that it fell away. Now's the time to recount all those things. Ra taught about stage 3 that this is the moment where you look back to see whether purpose and spirit were fulfilled. Not ideally, not theoretically, but actually in lived experience, in reality, in your lived experience. That's your reality. Only then can you lay the groundwork for a true new beginning. So the inspiration for the next cycle, it's got to be based on our fact. What's true for you? What's possible for you according to your own authority? If the next cycle is built on fantasy rather than the facts of who you are, who you were with, and what actually happened, resistance is pretty likely to emerge during it. Also, we are in no rush. I had that picture of, we'll go back here. We had the picture of this starting line, of these stepping stones going to the starting line. And I use the image of the stepping stones for one really particular reason, because when you're trying to run fast on stepping stones, quite often you're going to fumble. You're going to trip, you're going to fall, you're going to scrape your knee. But if you take it nice and slow, you're going to get there. You're going to get there a lot easier. Okay, so it's really natural to feel impatient right now because the calendar insists that it's January. Everything's starting, the new year, here we go. It's time to get those resolutions out there. It's time to check off your list. It's time to force yourself into this willpower-driven nonsense in some people's cases to do better, to make yourself better, to prove how good you are and how worthy you are because you're going to stick to this list. But it's really not even time yet. So we're in, the 10th of January. How many people out there, 10 days since the Gregorian New Year, since January 1st, how many people have already given up on their New Year's resolutions? How many people are still sticking with it? And then how many people haven't even started any resolutions, didn't make any resolutions because energetically they didn't feel like it was the aligned time to start? And you know what? I feel that. I recognize that as truth all around me, and I'm seeing it happen all around me. The neutrino programming from the sun helps influence and condition all of us. And it's pretty clear. Energetically, the mechanics for last year, the energetic mechanics, they just haven't finished yet. So we're often in such a hurry to move ahead that we skip the essential work of assessment. But here's the thing. The step, it can't be bypassed. I'm one of those people who have a rationalization as my sun, my personality sun. There is this constant reassessing over and over and over, returning to the same idea over and over. So this is something that is incredibly natural for me. And I recognize that it's not natural for everybody out there. But that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this series, is to help guide people through the process so that way it gets easier for them. Giving some examples of what could be happening to you right now to make it easier next time around. And you can always come back to this and next year at the end of the year and refresh yourself on it. So that way you'll have the information before we get to stage 3, before we get to stage 2, before we get to stage 1. Okay, so like I said, we cannot skip this part. If purpose hasn't been reviewed, if allies haven't been identified, if facts haven't been organized and inner truth assessed, then now's the time. Because this week, it's bringing it all together for us. Clarifying getting ready to close out the year cleanly, consciously, with awareness. So, thank you for staying with this process in a culture obsessed with this momentum and choosing to go, 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 go. By you choosing to even watch this video, to pause, assess, and think, it's a completely, radical act for a lot of people in this world. A lot of people can't be bothered to stop and think. It's so automatic for them. And when you honor these stages as we close out the year, you're aligning with the mechanics of life rather than forcing movement before it's correct. So we have one final step before the fresh energy of the Rave New Year arrives. And in stage 4, the next stage, that's when the sun enters gate 60, which is limitation. So at that point, we have struggled, we have assessed our alliances and our allies, we've faced the facts, the inner truth, the facts, and then there's only one thing left that we have to do, and it's letting go. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for my next video in about 5.5 days, where we will be discussing gate 60 in stage 4 of the Rave New Year. These mechanics become a little bit clearer through observation, reflection, and sometimes by sharing what you actually notice. Do you have somebody to share with? Do you have a trusted someone that you can discuss this with? Can you journal about it? Now, you don't have to, but I know personally I absolutely love to share my observations with other people who are total nerds in human design system, because we can totally geek out on this. And it's so fun to not only share what I've learned and have discussions about it, but also for them to tell me what they've experienced in their own world, in their own reality, and how it relates to the closing out of the cycle, the closing out of the Rave New Year, or the New Year cycle. Okay, so if there's something that you actually observed during your own process that you'd like to share, you're more than welcome to leave a comment under any of the videos and subscribe to continue through the final stage of the Rave New Year to complete the cycle with me. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Bye.